adventure in Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with our next guest who, it's been a little while, but we met on the other side of the world from where I'm at now, and I'm not even at my home now. I'm in Costa Rica right now, and we had the time zones totally are messed up because I was ready for them about an hour ago, but we don't change the time zones in Costa Rica. Europe and UK hasn't changed their time zone yet, and the United States changed it, so I don't think anybody in the world has any clue what time it is right now. But we're here, and we're here with MONKEY3. How are you, bro?
Hi, I'm all right. Here it's 8 p.m. in Switzerland.
Yeah, so it's 1 p.m. here in Costa Rica. And it's funny because the interview was set up on Eastern time zone because that's my normal time zone. And it's like now, like a couple days ago, we were an hour away from Eastern time zone. Now we're 2 hours away. So it's like you just have at this time of year, I deal with it all the time too. Like I have clients in Europe and the UK and Australia. And there's even like half-hour time zones. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
It's like so weird to me, but no matter where you are in the world, you guys are badass musicians, and I am loving the new track Collision. Absolutely. And I even love the visualizer video. Like most visualizer videos, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just listen to it. But I was watching, I was like, man, this is really cool. So tell us a little bit about it.
About the track or the video, or both?
Both.
Well, the track, is the second track of the record, and the idea was to have the first part of the track with almost entirely electronic, digital sounds, electronic sounds. Just have like an analog bass and a bit of guitar, but the idea was really centered about those electronic sounds. And then comes the second part where you have all the analog sound of the band that kicks in and that beat the shit up the electronic sound,
Right.
Yeah, that sort of collision between, the man and the machine, basically. And it ends up as a big chaos and, we don't know what will happen. So that was basically the idea of the track, and the visualizer is also about that, like sort of half man, half machine, in kind of a weird world. I won't say like a Terminator thing, but got that vibe in it, and it was the idea of having that sci-fi kind of vibe into it.
It's not so far from reality today with AI and everything that's going on. As a matter of fact, there's a conference that I do radio coverage for radio broadcasting, podcasting industry, that they're doing a keynote speech with a human and a humanoid using AI.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right? Like, so your visualizer is not that far off. It's almost like it's not even science fiction in 2024.
Yeah, that was the point, actually.
Right? So, and then you have the new album, Welcome to the Machine. Again, appropriate for 2024 because it is the year of the machine. Like even in our industry, like there's so much, like in my industry, so much AI is getting thrown at us to do things. Like even this interview, I will probably use AI to write the show notes for it because the AI does it a lot quicker than I do, and it's pretty on the money. And I edit it, because it's not right all the time, and it's not grammatically right, but it takes a lot of work off my hands. But then there's the controversy as a musician, and I think I'm on that controversy. Is like, I don't think AI should be making music. Music is an art, and music is something that is from human expression and emotion. And I'd rather see a badass musician like you playing music than somebody punching a couple keys and then all of a sudden it makes a song.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't know what to think about it yet.
Right?
I have not figured it out. It's too new to understand it. But the thing is, I don't think that AI might be a bad thing. I would say that it depends who and why you will use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Who uses it and for what purposes, you use it.
I agree.
And history teaches us that a lot of times some nice things were used by some not very nice people.
True. Very, very true. And I think it's already happening in 2024 too.
Maybe I don't know. For me, it's a bit too fresh to really understand what's going on with that. But it kind of scares me, actually.
It has scared me since the 80s. Like even in the 80s, I was like, the machines are going to take over. Now, like you were saying, I agree. There's a time and place in what you're using it for. Me as a radio personality, my artistic ability is being on the radio, being on a podcast, okay? But it doesn't have to mean I have to write the show notes and do this. Like, of course, you had to before, but now if I could spend more time just doing better interviews and having the AI write up the synopsis of that interview, then I think it's a benefit. But if AI was completely doing the interview, like I had a client recently sent me voiceover for commercials for us to produce for them. And it was done with AI. And I wrote her back and I'm like, yeah, I would prefer a human voice. You could totally tell it was computerized and it didn't invoke emotion, which is what machines don't invoke emotion. Now, when the machines start invoking emotion, having human emotions and human thinking and human decision making, then I will be worried. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but do you know why self-driving cars have not yet been like the commonplace yet?
No.
So when they do these testing, okay, they have a car like drive on Mountain Road. Yeah. And basically what they do is they have the AI put like a baby in the middle of the road, and the self-driving car is supposed to decide whether to hit the baby and save the driver or drive off the cliff, avoiding the baby. And so they haven't been able to figure out for it to make a human decision yet. And it's kind of like you mentioned the Terminator. It's the same thing as like that, or like in Star Wars, where their primary objective is to protect the human, so they sacrifice themselves. So what the self-driving cars are doing is every single time they're driving off the cliff and killing the driver, because the directive is to protect the baby, which that might be a human decision, but maybe a human decision would decide to try to stop and not hit the baby and not kill themselves either. So once they can figure out how the machine can think, act, and make decisions like a human, that's when I'm scared.
Well, actually, what scares me the most is not what you're saying. What scares me is when humans start behaving like machines.
Yes.
And this is already happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because a machine, you can unplug it, but you cannot unplug a human being.
What a great point.
You cannot unplug the human mind, and you cannot unplug history. And this scares me most is when humans will start to behave like machines.
What a great point and perspective on that, because while you're saying that, I was thinking about, wow, like that is kind of going on right now where certain people don't remember history because they disregard it or rewrite it or what have you. Or even as an example, I was just on a conversation like 15 minutes ago with somebody talking about the weather in a certain place. And I was telling this person, like, yeah, it gets really cold there. And they're like, but does it snow? I'm like, doesn't matter whether it snows or not. All I was talking about was it gets cold there. And he's like, yeah, I highly doubt it gets cold there if it doesn't snow. And then he proceeded to Google the place and read me off the actual averages. And I'm like, but you're not understanding. I told you I was there and I experienced it. And he's like, no, it wasn't that temperature. He was literally saying to me, no, it wasn't that temperature. I'm like, we're not going off of Google. We're going off of I was actually there and that was the temperature it was. And that goes with your point, because a machine is not going to listen to that. They're just going to go by the statistics and probabilities. And that's exactly what he was doing. He was going by statistics opposed to actual experiences.
Yeah.
So, tell everybody how they connect to you guys on socials, on the web, how they can get the new album, check out the Collision, and everything about you guys, get your merch, all that good stuff.
Well, actually, all the videos on YouTube, as for everyone, YouTube, go on YouTube.
Right.
Either our own channel or the Napalm Records channel. You can find them there. To purchase the records, obviously, on our own website, monkey3official.com. Shows are there too, and tickets for the upcoming tour are there too. Obviously, you can buy the record LPs and CDs on the Napalm Record web shop, or go to your local record store.
How about that?
Go to the record store and buy records. But you can still listen to it on Spotify or whatever streaming platform we find these days. But buy records. If you love music, buy records. Or go to the shows. That's where music happens.
Oh, there's nothing like a live show. That's just...
At the live show, you can buy records and merch.
There you go.
And talk to musicians. And have fun and have some beers and whatever.
So, and looking in your background, is one of those instruments your favorite behind you? In looking in your background behind you,
yeah,
is one of those instruments your favorite?
No. Well, I kind of dig those guitars, but I get my main guitar is not at home at the moment.
There you go.
Is in the practice space.
And going back to what we were talking about before a little bit, like, so your inspiration, some of your inspiration is from things like movies like 2001 A Space Odyssey, The Matrix, Solaris, 1984, Sunshine.
Yeah.
would you say now in 2024, if any of those movies right now remind you of what we're living right now or what we're going to?
Well, all of them.
Right?
But I would say that the book Brave New World
Mm,
might be something we are experiencing now.
yeah.
Uh, you know, I would say that the Matrix might be something that looks way more real than when the movie was released.
Right?
You
I
know,
think about that one a lot nowadays. I'm like,
and but yeah, obviously all those movies or books, they sometimes I ask myself, is those masterpieces predicting the future, or the future is becoming like we might have think about what it could be, and we push it to be like that. I don't know.
I wonder that all the time too. I wonder if like they put out these movies because they already have the technology and they're getting people used to it, or if people watch these movies, they're like brainiacs and they figure a way to make it true.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they just did those movies because they had good stories to tell. So when you have a good story to tell, you do it. And
That's right.
they weren't thinking that much about what could happen. Because I mean, when you watch a movie like Terminator, it's an action movie basically, but the idea behind it, could we imagine that it would have been not like the movie, but that we are coming close to that?
Yeah.
In the 80s, we were not thinking about that.
No. I even take a movie like, okay, so I'm in Costa Rica right now, and I take a movie like Planet of the Apes, and just the other day, somewhere I was at, I was like, oh my God, that could so happen. Because, like, these monkeys are so freaking smart. And it's like, I'm just thinking, we're getting dumber and they're getting smarter. So you never know. And
No.
I think that's what music's about too. I think music is an expression, but it's also something that, paints in a picture and makes you think. And I think that's what happens with your music, in my opinion. I listen to it and it brings me on a journey somewhere else. And in 2024, I need as many journeys somewhere else that I can get.
Actually, it's the purpose of that record is to
Right.
Obviously there's a concept behind it, and we tried to express our feelings and emotions towards that concept. But
Yes.
the main thing, because it's still music, it's just to be entertaining
Yes.
in some way. So we just work on trying to be entertainers, but also trying to share some ideas, thoughts, stuff like that.
Love
So
it.
the people that will listen to the record will maybe feel it too. We'll see.
There it is. I'm sure they will. And is there any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with? Anything that we haven't covered already?
Go buy records to a record shop.
Like this, like those.
And I have a story for that. When I was a kid, well, there was no internet, nothing. And every Saturday morning, I was going to the record shop in my hometown here in Lausanne, Switzerland, with my dad. And he was like giving me a few bucks and saying, okay, choose a record. And the first time we did that, we were in the record shop where my dad used to go every weekend, and David Bowie was there because he was living in Lausanne at the time.
Wow.
And when I bought my first record, it was the same day that David Bowie was buying records in the same record shop.
Wow. That is pretty cool.
And I bought a Rolling Stone record.
You know, that's where I think a lot of people are missing some great experiences. Like I've had so many great experiences at record stores and just buying albums, and it was a full experience. Like I would sit there and like, first of all, I'd listen to the album over and over again, and it wouldn't be like track. You listen to the whole thing. I would look at all the artwork. I remember even, okay, so interesting, what a brilliant marketing plan. But I remember I was a big Beatles fan when I was a kid, and I would buy albums to find the clues that Paul McCartney was dead, because they had that whole thing, the 1969 radio show where he was dead, and they put the clues on all these albums. Or you would get these albums and play them backwards to hear what they said backwards, or just so many different experiences and stuff that I think that's the complete artistry of music. It's not just the music itself, it's everything that goes along with it, the whole experience. And you know,
you always that.
Yeah, and you bought albums, you didn't even know what they sounded like, okay? You just bought them because of that artistry first.
Yeah.
And then you listened to it. Like, funny story, probably unpopular, but the first time I bought Back in Black, I hated the album, but because I spent money on it, I just kept playing it over and over again, and then I started to love it. And I think that's what people miss today, because not every song that you listen to, do you love it the first time you hear it, because you hear different things every time you listen to it again.
Yeah, and actually you should not listen to Back in Black. You should listen to the album Power Rage.
That's right. I agree. I'm totally team Bon Scott, by the way. And that's probably why I didn't like Back in Black. You know, I'm also team Paul Di'Anno too. Which dates me a little bit, because how many Maiden fans nowadays even know who that is, that are not old school Maiden fans, you know?
Yeah.
So any shows coming up or festivals coming up in the next year that you want to talk about or can talk about?
Yeah, we start the tour for the album end of April. So go on our website, all the dates are there, tickets, everything. Nice.
Definitely, they have to go to your live show for sure. Get and buy the album at the live show.
Some fun, share the whole thing with us, having a beer together after the show, everything. It's a fun experience.
It is. And I'll probably be at Hellfest again this year, because that is a badass festival.
Yeah, but we won't play there this year.
Yeah, unfortunately. But if you happen to be there, I did already get my press credentials, so I should be there unless something happens, but I should be there. Because anybody that has never gone to Hellfest, they're missing out. That's certainly a severe experience there.
That's true. Yeah.
And so I'm glad I met you then. I'm glad I'm talking to you now. Your music just keeps getting better and better, and everybody has to support you or they can't listen to my show.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for being here, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
You're welcome. See you next time.
Absolutely.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.